Hi, how are you doing everybody? Welcome to Russell Heritage Golf. Today we're going to be talking about chipping. Chipping is actually one of those things that you can actually practice from home, and if it's something that you have a problem with, well then you'll find this exercise really useful. We're going to be using Dave as an example. Dave is one of 5 participants who are basically on this journey with me of breaking these habits. So basically breaking the 100, breaking 90, breaking 80 is where basically Dave is. So we are trying to consistently get him into the habit of the breaking 80 program. I messaged him. I haven't seen all of these people now, all 5 of these people, probably in about a month, maybe 5 weeks, maybe even slightly longer for some of them due to the pandemic and the lockdown as to where we now find ourselves. So what we're trying to do is showcase that you can still progress from home. 2 parts of the game that Dave generally struggles with. 1 is driver, 2 is going to be chipping, which we're going to be talking about today. The driver is mainly due to the rotational movement and the transition, which obviously we've been covering in an abundance on the channel, so there's plenty for him to work on there. Chipping is something that we haven't talked about in quite a while. Now, when we can see Dave's technique, what we can essentially see is that the club gets caught what's known as underplaying, which basically means the club goes behind the hands from the perspective as to where we are looking, which basically means as the club comes down underplaying, you're going to be prone to doing things like catching the ground early, which can lead to things like fat and thin shots. But also it means that you're potentially going to have to do things like excessively use the hands to be able to get the club face square, which will make you feel yippy. And then when you start using the hands in a yippy motion, it becomes difficult to control that sort of club head speed and distance control. So all in all, not necessarily massively ideal. A couple of things that we're going to work on. Technically, what needs to happen when it comes to chipping that's different from the full swing is that we're going to keep the arms much more connected to the body. There's no need to obviously swing the club too far back, and we are going to keep the arms nice and connected to the body on the way back and through. The other thing that we want to make sure that we're doing is ensuring that as we're taking the club back, we're keeping the feeling of the club head staying much more in front of the hands. And the reason for this is, like I said, if we start to go too much this way, you're potentially going to do things like deal off the club and also have an inconsistency with your ability to swing on playing. So what should happen from a technical perspective is that we kind of get into our setup position. There'll be an element of shaft lean so that the hands will still be slightly ahead of the club head in the address position, but we're going to try and feel like our arms stay more connected, club head stays more in front of the hands, swing back and through, and that's going to help that club glide more underneath the golf ball and give us a nice mid sort of trajectory in that sort of position. Now, what can also happen when it comes to chipping is that golfers tend to adopt a similar sort of setup that they would with a full swing. And the reason for this is because obviously the right hand for me and your trail hand is located lower than your lead hand. So the shoulders can become a little bit tilted, which again can make you slightly vulnerable of catching the ground a little bit too much early. So the tip really for this is at home, or if you've got something that you can use in the garden, place it opposite you, so kind of prop it up so you can see yourself and your own posture. If not, the reflection in the mirror is absolutely fine. And what we're trying to do is reduce the tilt. So if I place this across my shoulders, I am like so in my normal setup, but in my chipping I want to be more horizontally placed. And the way I'm doing that is I'm basically opening up my hips, pointing them a little bit more down to the ground, and that neutralizes the shoulder, which means from there I can then strike much more down on the back of the golf ball. A useful tip to improve that sort of contact and making sure that, similar to Dave's tendency of going slightly under plane, is just to basically place a cane but kind of prop it up so it's elevated ever so slightly. And the idea is that as you take the club back for the first few feet, you basically want to make sure that the club head stays outside of the line, so it doesn't creep inside. Now, if it crept too much on the inside, you would contact the cane. So as long as the club head stays in front of the hands in that first part of the journey, then you'll be able to get a decent contact down on the back of the ball. So when it comes to chipping, contact is absolutely king. But the way that you can get a discrepancy in contact is going to be through posture, but also losing your ability to swing on plane. The simplicity is when it comes to chipping is that basically we are just swinging the arms to the side of the body. So if you like, it's a bit like a putting action. So taking the club straight back and through. The way you can work on this One is obviously change the posture like we spoke about earlier, which would be pelvis more open and downward. That will help you strike down on the back of the ball. Two, place an object, inclined object, to stop that sort of inside sort of takeaway. But another great way of just improving your chipping is just to kind of chip a few one-handed, because basically if you're going under here, you're going to feel excessive motion on the back of that hand rather than just taking it straight back and through and keeping it really simple, which is often why people actually generally chip better one-handed than two. There we go then, there's some tips, there's something for Dave to work on, so by the time we get out of this and we get back on the golf course, the chipping should significantly improve. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Always appreciate a thumbs up and a like. Remember, it's absolutely free to press that subscribe button. If you're going to do so, press the little bell icon, because that means you receive notifications every time a new video comes out. Work on some of these drills, do it in the garden, improve that contact. Catch up with you soon.